I'm Lori Chortis for Invest TV. Joining us today in the studio is Vasilis Katsipis, General Manager of Market Development for AM Best in the Middle East and North Africa and South and Central Asia regions. Vasilis, welcome. Thanks so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you for having me here.
How have the Middle East and North Africa markets responded to COVID's impact on economic conditions?
I would say they have responded better than anyone would have expected. I mean, when the COVID hit, everybody expected reduced economic activity, but at the same time, the price of oil crashed. Many of these economies depend on oil sales to perform well, and you could see a perfect wave, a perfect storm brewing up. But instead of that, the economies did rather well. Many of the countries were pretty good at tackling the cases of COVID, and therefore economic activity resumed very quickly. When you look at the whole region, the majority of the markets had some small dip in GDP, but for the insurance industry, it continued to grow. If you look, most of the markets, they've shown very low single-digit growth, which is amazing considering what they were facing. And then 2021 has been a relatively good year for the economies and for the insurance industries in the region. So better than anyone would have expected before when we saw COVID coming.
So what are some of the ongoing challenges that insurers will need to get past?
There are the general challenges that you will associate with emerging markets. So inefficiencies of the market, the regulatory issues that are actually becoming more important for the markets. But I think what the markets need to tackle at the present moment there are two main issues. One is inflation. That is something that all the insurance markets around the world are going to have to face, but in particular for the region where many of the insurers went into a price competition in previous years, that is particularly important. The other one is the implementation of IFRS 17. Most of the countries are planning to introduce IFRS 17. That has major impact both in terms of cost, but also in terms of understanding the business. I think we are going to go through a phase where the majority of the companies will have a problem explaining their numbers to key stakeholders, and after that it will be an issue of understanding which business make profit and which ones don't, and taking relevant action. So these are the two main challenges that I think the industry needs to face in the next couple of years.
So where are the growth opportunities for insurers in the Middle East?
That inflation that we talked about, it's like a coin that has two sides. On one hand, claims are increasing. On the other hand, when you have markets like in the Middle East where 40% of the premium goes into motor, price of motor goes up, premiums go up. So that is one area where we will see growth. Another area that we will see growth is medical, and that accounts for another 35 to 40% of the business. So this is the organic growth that we will see in the next year or so. Longer term, these are markets that are lacking penetration on life insurance. So microeconomically, you would expect that to be the great growth area. Personally, I'm a little bit skeptical because there is a lot of not even lack of awareness, but population is not ready to buy life insurance. So it will take quite a long time. So that will be for the long term. The medium term growth is going to come from new compulsory covers. Governments in the region are trying to increase insurance penetration through introducing compulsory covers. And that will be mostly around medical, because in many countries there is no universal healthcare provision, and the private insurance sector is called to cover that gap.
Will insurers be able to achieve organic growth, or will this be driven by M&A activity?
I think all in all, there will be organic growth in the market. Some insurers will do better than others, like anywhere. But there will also be M&A. And the M&A will be driven by regulatory intervention, not in the sense that regulators will tell companies you need to merge, as many of the operators in the market would like regulators to do. But let's take the introduction of IFRS 17. That is going to show that a lot of the business that is written is unprofitable. And if you are a company that suddenly you look less appealing than was before to your shareholders, the question is, do I really want to be involved in that investment or not? So we should have more M&A activity than we had in the past. But growth will still be there. Emerging markets traditionally have higher growth than mature ones by definition. But equally, when in the past these markets were used to having double-digit growth, I think now we are looking at something like 3 to 4 to 5% growth. So good growth, but still less than historic.
So what else should we look for in these markets going forward?
Regulatory intervention. I think that's, for me, that's the big thing. These markets are starting to mature in terms of both the dynamics of the market, but also in terms of what the regulators are expecting of the companies. I mentioned about IFRS 17 again and again. Governance is strengthened throughout the region. We have many of the companies which do not have independent directors, but also they have the shareholders driving many of the decisions, and that is something that and when I'm talking about shareholders, I'm talking about one, maximum two individuals. So we are having regulators saying there needs to be some separation there. So that is going to change the shareholders' attitude towards insurance. These will be defining the market in the next couple of years. Yeah.
Vasilis, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
That was Vasilis Katsipis, General Manager of Market Development for AM Best in the Middle East and North Africa and South and Central Asia regions. For AM Best TV, I'm Lori Chortis.